I'm excited to talk about the business of football with my guest today, Mr. Keith Jackson. From 1988 through 1996, Mr. Jackson played professional football as the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, and Green Bay Packers. Mr. Keith Jackson finished his career with 441 receptions for 5,283 yards and 49 touchdowns. Divide his receptions by his 8-year career, and you get over 50 a regular season. That seems like a lot to me, although I'm not sure.
Well, they're catching more than 100 now.
Is that right?
Well, some guys.
Many of you may remember Mr. Jackson as the color commentary for Arkansas Razorback football. Did you recognize that voice? Though Keith is known by many as an award-winning football player, he is known by the kids in Southwest Little Rock, Arkansas as a savior. In 1992, Keith paid his good fortune, faith, and experience forward by founding PARK, an acronym for Positive Atmosphere Reaches Kids, a nonprofit organization and an outreach program for inner-city youths in Little Rock, Arkansas. It is a pleasure to welcome to the table the talented, faith-filled, and generous retired professional NFL athlete, Mr. Keith Jackson.
That's a long list of words to explain who I am, but I sure do appreciate it, though.
You are a lot.
Can you read that again? Long, faith-filled. That was pretty good.
Talented, faith-filled, and generous retired professional NFL athlete, Mr. Keith Jackson.
See, I like that. That's great. We would have an audience, but and they probably would be clapping right now, but social distances cause us not have an audience.
That's
tonight.
right. We have bumped elbows today, but no high-fiving.
No high-fiving.
Many people listening to the show want to talk about the business of football today versus the business of football when you played, like head injuries and salaries and social issues. But before we do any of that, let's talk about your college football career. It was spectacular. Many young men dream of a career such as yours. Did you always know you wanted to play football professionally?
Well, I did. As a little kid, you walk around your neighborhood and try to stay out of trouble, and you dream about the day of doing something big. Some people may want to run a business, and some people may want to become an artist or a singer. I actually wanted to be a football player, and so I would walk around with an old football, throwing it up in the air, imagine myself catching that big pass on that day that you need the last second of the game. Quarterback throws you the ball, you've got to come up with a big play, and the crowd goes wild. You can go back to probably about 6 years old, me trying to do that, and just working from that point on, trying to get to the NFL.
You're so lucky that you had a passion at an early age. But for someone who has a passion for football, you went to high school at not really a football school. Parkview is an arts and science school.
Yeah, back in those days, I tell people I go to Parkview. I was a cello playing football player, so that's right. I played the cello. So to be at Parkview, and my mother was big on academics, and she was big on music, and so all her kids played instruments. My sister played the piano, my brother played the violin, and I played the cello. And she felt there was a study that came out that said that kids who play instruments learn faster, and so she was making sure that we learned as fast as we could. And all the football stuff I had to figure out on my own. She didn't know much about football. She
didn't care about that.
Well, she did. She act like she didn't care. Along with my grandmother, they were both the same. But once I got older and started talking to their friends would say, your mother and grandmother used to call us, tell you got to watch the game. The game's coming on. You got to watch Keith. So they faked it around us, try to make me believe that they wasn't watching the game, but they were really watching.
Was your mother a school teacher?
My mother's a nurse. She worked at Baptist Health for 29 years. And,
so education was important to her.
Yeah. She worked her way up to become a nurse, single-parent mom who was out there, and she realized that education was important to get her where she was, where she could take us out of the inner city where we grew up and into a nice little area.
Did you grow up in Southwest Little Rock?
No, I grew up in off Chester and then High Street. So I was off in that little south. Yeah. That's the area I grew up in.
You had an unbelievable college career, but not for the Arkansas Razorbacks, which I think people that don't know you'd be surprised to know that. Instead, you were a Sooner.
Right.
And you played for the University of Oklahoma. Why not the Razorbacks?
Well, I get that question. I still get that question. You know how long ago it's been? It's been about 30, 35, almost.
87,
yeah, it's been a long time ago.
1985 to 87 or something you
played?
A
long time ago, and I still get that question. It's really interesting because as a 19-year-old kid, I was turning 19, you have all these choices in front of you, these different schools, people telling you different things, pulling on you. Recruiting is tough. It's not only tough on you, but it's tough on your family, because you have everybody walking in the door and promising you the world, and you got to filter through that information. And when I filtered through all the information, I thought that the of course, the Razorbacks were one of the teams I grew up watching, but here's Lou Holtz. He's leaving out the door, and Hatfield is coming in. So that they haven't established that. This is the first year of that happening. The consistency of Barry Switzer over and his ability to recruit was one of them. But the idea that they had just signed this quarterback out of Henrietta, Oklahoma, and had Matt Brown, who became the Texas coach and now is at North Carolina's offense coordinator, and as well as, you got to see people like Marcus Dupree, who was that running back. I mean, some great stories of guys you thought you could play with, Spencer Tillman. So having Troy Aikman was a big deal to me. I mean, when you're a receiver, you want a quarterback that can get you the ball. And having the number one quarterback in the nation in Troy Aikman out of Oklahoma, going to Oklahoma, it was big on my decision making.
Did your parents help you with that decision, or were you just out there with a piece of paper writing it down and going by your emotions, or was your mother going, no, go do this?
Barry Switzer calls my mother the toughest woman he's ever met, because she had to endure the hardship of me going to Oklahoma. Now, at the time, of course, I told you I'm 18, turning 19. I really don't understand the magnitude of being like one of the top players in the country, ranked, and I don't understand the magnitude of being a parade All-American and how small Arkansas is when it comes to having that kind of talent. I just think that I'm a player that want to go play at the place I want to play. She full well understands the whole view, and she stood up for me and fought for me to go to Oklahoma in spite of the fact that she could have lost her job or just some other things bad would have happened to her.
Lost her job because her son didn't play for the Razorbacks?
A lot of threatenings. Let me tell you something. I know the whole staff, the upper staff. As a matter of fact, I serve as a board member of Baptist Health. There's no way Baptist Health would do anything like that. They are very good Christian people at Baptist Health. But it was this thought process of the outside of people scaring, and then the fact that you got rats in your mailbox. We got our house toilet paper. Oh yeah, it was a bad ordeal, and she just endured it all and supported me 100%.
How can you be such a draft by all these colleges wanting you when you played for Parkview? Who even looks at Parkview for football?
Parkview was pretty good back in those days. Now, when we're thinking about modern day, Parkview has actually changed a little bit, but back in the late 70s and the early 80s, Parkview was a powerhouse. I mean, people like you think of George Stewart, who was a great offensive lineman, and Darrell Mason, and I mean they sent several players to the University of Arkansas. They would, in those days, Central High School would send a group of players up, and Hall High would send a couple, and Parkview would send several, and so that was the core and the nucleus of what would build the Razorback football team. And then they bring these guys in from Texas and other places to join them. So Parkview was sending just as many kids up to play at the University of Arkansas at that time as any other school. So they were pretty good in the late 70s and early 80s.
So there's not a lot of kids being recruited today because not a lot of kids want to play football anymore after all the bad
I don't think
press.
so. I don't think so. I think that the NFL is taking their lumps. When you look at concussions, that's what we're talking about, mainly concussions. Parents are saying, hey, I don't want my kids to play football because of concussions, and the NFL realized that. They're taking their lump. There are less amount of people who are playing the sport, but what they're doing on the other side is they're building better helmets, and they're putting in better rules to try to protect the players, so they're not going to have this physical side of the game that later on they'll be having concussion issues. Now, will concussions still happen? Yeah, because it's a tough game, but they're limiting that. They're creating those rules to limit that. The question I always ask people is this: if you have, and I know what an energetic young man I was, and I have the hours between after school and 8 o'clock to do whatever I want to, is that going to cause more problems than the concussions down the line?
Absolutely. I never thought of that.
No question
You're
at
all.
On. You're going to have more deaths. You're going to have more incidents than you. It would say incidents than you would if you keep them on the field. I think people think we make knee jerk reaction to everything. I have 3 kids, and they all play college football. I've got a grandson that's just this beautiful thing. He will play football. The rules are becoming that they're protecting him. And if he wants to play football, he'll play football, because I know what kids can do by running a program when they're not doing those latchkey hours.
You do. We are going to talk about your program, Park, and what you do for after-school kids And boy, if anybody can speak to that, you just spoke to it.
Yeah.
Let's go back and talk about, before we jump into all of that, let's talk about you winning the national championship for Oklahoma. You caught the winning, there were 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, big
was
touchdown.
yours the winning touchdown?
No, it was a big touchdown. We kicked field goals other than that, two touchdowns. It was a very important part of the game. People say, what is one of the most important plays that you've ever made? It was a 73-yard touchdown against Penn State. The game was on the line. They would score. We played defense. We scored. They played defense. And it was a really close game up until the point of this big play that takes over the game. And I remember the commentator at the time said, home run ball, the tight end, Keith Jackson, he's out and open to catch the ball, and then the rest is a touchdown. And so 73 yards later, I scored this big touchdown. Our defense shut him down. We kicked several field goals, and then my old roommate, Lydell Carr, goes for a touchdown too. And so we ended up winning the game 25 to 10, I think the score was. And the first national championship in a long time for Barry Switzer added to him. And the reason why I went to Oklahoma was to be able to compete and to play for a national championship and to be able to win one.
Well, you lived your dream.
I did. Actually, we played for the national championship 3 times. We just won 1.
Oh.
We had a chance to win 3 of them.
So how'd you get the name Boomer Sooner?
You know, what's really interesting is that I've seen that written places. The Sooner crew have been yelling Boomer Sooner for quite some time. I think that, there's just some times that I've scored some touchdown and they start yelling it, and then it kind of became synonymous with my name. But whether it's Sooner Magic or Boomer Sooner, I just love the fact of being a part of OU football and having a great career.
It's all about team playing, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
For everybody that's just listening, you played for University of Oklahoma, and they are Sooners, because people are like, what does Sooner mean? Boomer Sooner. They are Sooners.
They are Sooners.
And you all won the was it 85 or 86 that you won? And then you played in the Orange Bowl.
Right. That was the championship. Yeah. So 85 was the season. We played the game in 86 for the national championship and beat Penn State and won it. And boy, it was just an exciting time. Every kid grows up and they want to win championships. I mean, that's just no sense in playing a game unless you're going to win some championships. And so I've been able to play at every level and play for the championship at every level. The one that got away was high school. Still want to go back to Parkview. We lost to Southside in the championship game. Didn't have our quarterback. Yes, I'm making excuses after so many years. If our quarterback would have played and wouldn't have been hurt, I'm not going to say his name on the radio to get him in trouble. We would have won that game by 30 points. It wouldn't have been close.
Look at the basketball guy that's been playing that came back in that hurt his ankle. Was it Jones or Joe? Yeah. He comes back in. It makes a difference.
Makes a huge difference.
You can't help it. All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Boomer Sooner, Mr. Keith Jackson, retired NFL tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, and Green Bay Packers. We'll follow along in Mr. Jackson's illustrious life story as a professional football player. At the end of the show, we'll talk about his current accomplishments at Park, his nonprofit that helps inner city and at-risk children of Little Rock, Arkansas. Stay tuned, much more to come.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. Over 40 years ago, with only $400, Kerry founded Arkansas Flag and Banner. During the last 4 decades, the business has grown and changed, along with Kerry's experience and leadership knowledge. In 1995, she launched the business website flagandbanner.com, became an early blogger in 2004, founded the nonprofit Friends of Dreamland Ballroom in 2009, began distributing a biannual publication called Brave Magazine in 2014, and today she's branched out into this very radio show, YouTube channel, and podcast. Each week, you'll hear her engage in candid conversations with her guests about real-world experiences on a variety of businesses and topics that we hope you'll find interesting, educational, and motivational. Stay informed about upcoming guests by subscribing to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy's YouTube channel. For a complete update of happenings on the Flag and Banner campus, i.e. Dreamland Ballroom events, sneak previews of upcoming Up in Your Business guests, sales at flagandbanner.com, relevant Brave magazine articles, and Kerry's current blog post, join our email list at flagandbanner.com to receive our very popular, all-inclusive water cooler weekly email. Telling American-made stories, selling American-made flags. The flagandbanner.com. Back to you, Kerry.
You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy. I'm speaking today with the NFL retired tight end, Mr. Keith Jackson, and founder of the nonprofit Park in Southwest Little Rock, Arkansas. Before the break, we talked about Keith's career at University of Oklahoma, championships, competing. You know, it's a good life, a boy's dream. He's lucky that he always knew he wanted to play football, and he got to live that dream. It's a great story. Tell us about the day you got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagle. First of all, did you only go to 3 years of college?
I graduated in 3.5 years.
I thought those years
I just graduated. I graduated early. I had a philosophy that I didn't like school that much, so I said, graduate early.
How can you do that and have all that stuff that you're doing?
It's really interesting now.
Are you real smart?
Well, I wouldn't say that.
What's your degree in?
I worked hard, communications.
No wonder he's so good on the radio.
But I worked harder than everybody else. I mean, my whole thing is I'm going to work hard and I'm going to get finished. And I was very competitive. My mother's a key to my life. I mean, there's no question. The mere fact that she told me I couldn't play football unless I made good grades, it made me realize how smart I was. At first, I was just acting around, making decent grades. She goes, no more football unless I see good grades. And then that just changed everything for me. And then I started having good grades, get pat on the back for good grades, positive affirmations. And then I started saying, okay, everybody's patting me on the back for being a good football player. Now they're patting me on the back for being a good student. And so I want to be an All-American academically, and I want to be an All-American athletically, and I achieved that at Oklahoma also, too. So to graduate in 3.5 years and be an All-American was something I was shooting for and wanted to be one of those individuals that could be able to say, you know, I was a whole kid at the University of Oklahoma.
They, I think it was in 2012, I'm not sure, they awarded you the player of the University of Oklahoma awarded you the player of the century. Century.
Kerry, I got to tell you a funny story. So I called Barry Switzer up because I don't hear about it till a month later. So I called Coach Switzer up. I said, Coach, I heard I won the Offensive Player of the Century. And he said, yeah. Who did you pay off to get that done? I had Joe Washington, he went through Billy Sims, and I had Greg Pruitt, and I had J.C. Watt. He went through all these players that he thought was a little bit better than I was. And I said, I love you too, Coach. And he just started laughing, you know. But it was one of those deals. There was a lot of great talent. When you look at Oklahoma.
But it may have been the whole package. You made good grades along with.
True. That's true.
You know, it may not have just been the scores or the statistics. It may have been the whole package.
Well, it does pay off if you really participate wholly in athletics.
All right, let's talk about the day you got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, right?
Yes.
What number?
13.
That's pretty
First round,
good.
13th pick.
That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You know, it's really interesting. The money's changed since then.
We're going to talk about that. What about that money?
It was an exciting time. I'll tell you one thing about it. When I got drafted, I heard somebody say, we rich. And I was like, are we French? You know, with the we side of that thing? I don't know. But it was exciting. It's just something that you always want to do as a kid. And in playing at Oklahoma and making plays in the big games against Texas and against Nebraska and against Miami, I knew I was as good as any of the kids out there, so I knew I'd get drafted. I didn't know exactly when and where I was going to get drafted, so getting drafted by Philadelphia in the first round, 13 pick, that was the highest of a tight end that had been at that time. And it was exciting. It really was exciting.
Were they a good team at that time?
Philadelphia had a great defense, and they were really one of the upper level teams. Still needed to take one more step to get to the Super Bowl or get to the playoffs, but they were getting there very fast. Had some great players.
What was the most glaring difference between playing college ball and playing pro ball?
Everybody's good in pro football. I mean, just everybody. Nobody. I mean, there's nobody who doesn't have talent. When you're out there, you're playing against some of the best in the world at all times. And so in order to make plays, you've got to be pretty good to make those plays. In college, you'll have a guy who's not as good. He's a position guy. He's out there to try to help his team win, but they're putting him in the right position to do that. In the NFL, they expose that. You got to be good at every position or they will come after you. And so it was so surprising how fast the linebackers were, how big and fast the defensive linemen were. I mean, every position was just physical, fast, just athletic.
So you're 6'3".
Yeah.
Would you be big enough now?
Yeah, still,
It's 6'3"?
yeah, still be the same. I mean, tight ends hadn't changed much in size. They do have bigger blocking tight ends, but really, the tight ends that are really taking the world by storm. You take Hunter Henry, who's from here, who's great. Hunter's about 6'3", 6'4", about 245, 250. He's not going to let himself get big. You're right. He's not going to let himself get big because he wants to be able to run against those little small defensive backs that are chasing them and have a chance to catch passes against them. So you have some guys like Gronkowski, who's like 265 and can run, but most tight ends are around 250. Yeah.
So you were at the Eagles from 88 to 91. Why did you leave, or did you get traded, or what?
No, I fought for free agency. That was a great deal. One of my friends came to me and said, every time they talk about free agency, they talk about you. Yeah, I did. I fought for. I was one of the. Matter of fact, the case was called the Jackson Five. Believe it or not.
Was it really?
So it was me and four of the guys, and we fought for free agency. We were 4-year guys, and there was a debate going on with the NFL and an NFL Players Association about 5-year guys getting 5-year players getting free agency. So we were kind of caught in the middle. But I mean, I just said, I'll be willing to use my name to fight for this. I thought it was unfair that an owner could tell me, this is all you're going to get. I don't care how well you play and what good player. I can't test the market to see how much money I can make. And that's it. And you either play or don't play. I mean, I just didn't think that was fair. And I was a good enough player at the time that I could actually say, okay, well, we're going to see how this works, and I was willing to take the chance.
So what did happen?
Well, what happened is the judge gave us 5 days or something like that to find a team, or a week to find a team, and the Miami Dolphins called.
Why were you wanting to leave the Eagles?
Well, I didn't want to
for increase in pay.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave the Eagles, but I didn't think it was fair for someone to put me in a box. So literally, I mean, I'm an All-Pro almost every year I'm there, and then I hold out. And I didn't make it that year, but I'm there, and the owner tells me, you're a tight end, so you fit in this category, and this is all the money you got. And all the books that were being written and talked about, I was the big play player, even though I was at a position that didn't make a lot of money.
Oh, I see.
And so I'm going, well, this is not fair, and it's not fair for me, and it's not fair for. And I just felt like sometimes, you've got to be the one who shoulders some of the weight, if not me, if not now,
you're
when.
A leader. You're a leader.
Yeah, and so I was willing to take that chance.
So you left and you went to the Miami Dolphins, right? All right.
Had a great career at the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins call. I go down there. I get a chance to play with the great Dan Marino. Oh, wow. A great story about faith is that I was sitting there and I was watching TV with my agent in Malibu, and Miami's playing against Seattle. And they're in Seattle, and Dan Marino gets knocked out. First concussion, he goes to the sideline. They don't take his helmet. He comes back in the game. He throws a touchdown, and he doesn't know he threw the touchdown. And I looked at my agent, and I said, I want to play with Dan Marino. The next day they call.
Oh, I'm so with you. If we could high five, we'd high five right now.
The next day they called. Not only that, I told my agent how much money I thought I was worth a year. The next day they offered that amount without us talking to him. That's some faith, believe in God stuff right there, and it worked. And it was
prayer.
It was so exciting to be able to see that at work. And anyway.
So you were there 2 years, 92 to 94. Was
3 years, 92, 93, 94, yeah.
Oh, 3 years, yeah, right. So is there something that happened that made you decide to go to the Green Bay Packers?
I love Don Shula. His wife, Mary Ann, is from here at Arkansas, and I love them both. But Coach Shula said every player who plays on his team can't go home. He said, you've got to work out. At that time, players used to go home and come back during all season. And the Dallas Cowboys were having very much success. Had won some Super Bowl because they never let their players go home. They made them stay there all year round and work out.
That's
Emmett in that group. Yep, it sure was. Coach Johnson, and he was the coach at the time. And so
boy, should have played for them. I would have watched a lot more.
You watched a lot more. Hey, you know what? When you get drafted by the Eagle, you learn how to not like the Cowboys pretty quickly. But I love Jerry Jones. I always tell Jerry that. I hug him. I love him. I love Steven. I love Jerry Jr. I love Charlotte. I love the family.
They've done a great job.
There across the bridge in North Little Rock they're from. And so I do love him. I just can't find myself cheering for the Cowboys because I'm an Eagle. It's
today,
tough.
okay.
It's tough.
That's one of my questions. Who do you root for? Who do you root for when you watch football? If you played for 3 teams, who do you root for?
I root for the teams I played for.
Always.
And if they play against the other, I root for the team that wins.
When Razorbacks are playing Oklahoma, who do you root for?
Oh, that's a question I better not answer. My son still plays for the team.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I better not answer that phone.
Yeah.
And you know, the one
that
thing.
That means it's Oklahoma.
The one thing the coach that coaching up there now coached at Oklahoma too. When I first met Sam Pittman, he was an offensive line coach at Oklahoma, so he's been there too. I tell you what, I've enjoyed my time in Oklahoma. I am so fortunate that I have two teams that I can root for.
That's fun, isn't it?
And it was.
There's always someone playing.
That's right. And the bad thing is that the Razorbacks hadn't been playing well, but Oklahoma has. So it's kind of like I'm just kind of riding that. And then when Razorbacks play well, I jump back over on that side.
So why'd you leave the Green Bay Packers?
So I retired. So I go to the Green Bay Packers. I get traded to the Green Bay Packers because I didn't. I didn't want to. Yeah, I didn't want to come through the all season. I said, hey, I've got this vision that God has given me called Park.
So that happened while you were at the Miami Dolphins.
Well, I started building it up at Philadelphia. I get to Miami and I'm really in raising money with Walter Hussman. He's helping me out at the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. So I'm flying home a lot. I'm having meetings, and we're actually having these off season or these things during the off season while I'm still playing to raise money. And so it was one of those things where I go, I either listen to the coach or I listen to God. I said, Coach, I can't come during the off season. He said, well, I'm gonna trade you, and he did. He traded me to Green Bay. Best thing that ever happened to me, and I went to win a Super Bowl at Green Bay Packers. I actually had an opportunity of getting traded to Green Bay, meeting up with my old good friend Reggie White, who was an anchor in my life, and so we got a chance to play 2 more years together. And
did you say they won the Super Bowl
when I was there? 2 years. Yeah, 1 year I was there. We won the Super Bowl. 96. So
you are just on the winning team everywhere you go.
Well, sometimes you think you're going to the desert, but when you get there, you realize there's something there for you. And so nobody ever wanted to go to Green Bay because it was so cold. It was the place nobody wanted to go. When you look at guys like Mike Holmgren and who was the head coach, as well as Ron Wolf, who was the general manager, Reggie White and Brett Favre, and all, they changed that place where players want to go and play at Green Bay.
Well, isn't it the first football team ever or something?
Well,
like
they won like the first championships. They won like world championships. They had a guy named Lombardi who was a pretty good coach. Yeah, Lombardi came along in the 60s and made him a good team.
You talking about Vince Lombardi?
Vince Lombardi with guys like Bart Starr and all those good guys. They had some pretty good players.
Well, I can't believe you didn't want to go there, but it is.
No,
cold.
I went there for 2 years.
I know, but I can't believe you were kind of
like nobody wants to go there. Yeah. You know, when you're an African American, it says a lot, right? You don't like cold weather. I just did not like cold weather.
Yeah.
Miami was my place.
Is there anything you would have done different?
No.
When you look back through all of that career?
No, I don't think so. I think that even the bad stuff happened for a reason. I love it when Apostle Paul said, I rejoice in tribulation, because tribulation creates patience, and patient experience hope, and hope maketh us not ashamed. I think that all those stuff, the bad things that happened, the being traded, the bad games, the drop passes, I think it all works together for some good in your life. It just teaches you something. It makes you a whole person.
It does. It teaches you something. Everyone asked me to ask you about the game today. How does it compare now from when you played? Things like, what is better? What do you think's better? Like, I think you just said safety's better. But they have enacted changes that you may not like, or you may like. Do they hit as hard now? The old players never like the new stuff. That's just the way it is. No, you can't find an old player that says, "Oh, I love what they're doing now." We call it modified 7-on-7, that you tackle every now and then, which means basically 7-on-7 is when you play without a helmet and shoulder pads and nobody tackles anybody. So we just call it modified 7-on-7. Oh. But we understand the importance of making the game safe, and we want the game to be safe because we want our kids and our grandkids to play. But all the old players complain in front of everybody, going, "Oh, if the game was safe like this, I'd have played 10 years or 20 years, Well, some of the guys are these
playing
days.
20 years. Yeah, I mean, you think about it. It's just not the same physical game. But guys are faster and guys are bigger, and there's more money to be made. So it's really been interesting, the change of how physical the game is. The game is still physical. It's just they protect players from getting those knockout hits.
I saw this. I wasn't going to ask you this question, but you made me think about this. I saw this guy on 60 Minutes who's had a concussion, and he's coming and going, but he said he used to get in the dog piles and he used to reach down and find fingers and break them.
You know, that was before me. So the game, there's always been these guys who've been tough in the pile, and there's these stories about you get hit and poked in the eye and fingers bitten. I've been in the pile before, but I think there came a time around the time I got there, people started realizing these people are trying to make money and go home with their families, and you saw a change in play. Back in the 70s, when you saw the Raiders and Cleveland Brown, the mistake by the lake and the dog pound, and I mean those things. You had the purple people eaters, the steel curtains, and I mean they would just knock you out. They would try to take you out. That's just the way it was. It was a physical football game, and then it became more business.
Yeah.
And so they said, Joe Namath get his leg broken. They said, okay, we got to start protecting players. And so that's why when you look at the fact that you see somebody like a Tom Brady who playing 20 years, how could he last that long and stay healthy? The football, the quarterbacks are protected a lot more than they used to be. And so you can tackle them, but they're very well protected. And it's better for the game. And so the players start realizing this themselves. So they start making deals. Hey, man, we're not going to go after each other. We're not going to try to hurt each other. And what we're going to try to do is make sure we get through this game. We're going to play physical because we got to keep our job, but we're not going to intentionally try to hurt guys.
Do you think the targeting rule of ejecting you for targeting is too strict?
I think that, yes, I think it is too strict. I think that
because some people don't look like they mean to.
Well, I think that what you have to do is say is if it's an intentional or if it's a non-intentional. I hope they go back and look at that rule and say after 2, if you had 2 in a game, you get kicked out. I mean, you start thinking about the national championship game when you had Clemson versus LSU. Clemson's middle linebacker is one of the best players in the country. I mean, he's as good as any other middle linebacker. And when he leaves the game's over. I mean, I think LSU still wins that game, but I think it's harder when they had the linebacker, but because of a targeting call, he's gone.
I know.
And so even
that
if you do,
seem right.
Even if you do 2 targeting in the playoffs, so players stay longer. I mean, so basically during the season, 1 targeting, you're out for a half. That's the rule. You out for a whole half and then come back. Right. That's what I'm saying. You get out for a half. Whatever that half is, you out for a half. But I think that when you start saying it's so detrimental that one of your key player who didn't try to target somebody get called for a target and they're gone, the game's over. And
is football ever crooked?
No, not that I know of. You know, it's hard to point shade.
Inflategate and all that stuff.
Well, they're trying to get every angle they can to win, whether it's reading pitching signs or looking and trying to read. That's why guys, when they're sending the play in, they put the playbook over their mouth so you can't read their lips.
No lip readers.
They'll find some lip readers. Hey, whatever it takes to get an angle to win the game.
It's a lot of money, Gray.
Some people would do. They want to win because if you don't win, you lose your job. You lose your job, you don't make money. So they're going to get every edge they can. And so would
you like to play today?
Love to play today. Let me explain this out. So there's a tight end that just played for the Atlanta Falcons. Harper, pretty good player, not a bad player. Just went to the Cleveland Browns for $44 million. A 4-year deal for $44 million. Now, at the max, my best contract, I made 1.6.
Oh, just think what you could do for the kids at Park.
If I made more money, you can make more money. You could do more things. And so because of the money, I love to play. But not only that, because of the longevity of career, the fact that they're protecting players so players can play longer.
You have 2 sons. Is one of them still playing in the NFL?
No. One played. He's done. I have one that's a senior. Yeah, he's got drafted by St. Louis and played a couple years and then went to San Diego and played a year. And now he's done. Keith Jr. Kenyon was a senior this year at University of Illinois, had a great career under Lovie Smith, who was the head coach up there. They finally made it to a bowl game this year, made it to the Red Box Bowl in California, so he's
bowls.
Done. And then Colin's a redshirt junior at the University of Arkansas.
Well, I'm going to watch him.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I didn't know that. What's his name?
Colin Jackson.
I'm going to watch for him.
Number 3.
What position?
He's a wide receiver. He plays wide receiver. Yeah, he catches the ball down the field
and runs. So he's fast.
Yeah, he's fast. I would love to race him at the same age, though. We talk about that all the time. I go, if I was your age and we race, I think I'd beat you.
Competitive to the day he dies.
He weighs 200 and about 10. I weigh 245.
What do you think about the social statements that they're making at the football game? Like who was that? Colin Kaepernick or Kaepernick?
Yeah.
Kaepernick. What he took a knee during the national anthem. Should social influence be a part of football?
Social influence has always been a part of sports.
It really has been.
Always been a part, and it always been. Yeah, I remember being. I remember just seeing the two guys at the Olympics. I can't remember their name, with the black holding up the black fist, saying that
That's right.
It was a stage and an opportunity to say that we've been treated wrong, and I'm at a point where I can magnify that. I think that you got to be really careful how you do it, right? I think that
his was a silent protest, which I thought was, if you're going to protest, I thought it was nice because he was silent. For people that don't know,
right, he took a knee.
He took a knee during the national anthem.
And there's still some people who take seats during the national anthem. Oh. I think that to some people, when you look at Kaepernick, he's a guy who just was bringing out information and letting the world know, hey, here's what's happening with the police force that's happening
in our community.
So we
want
to bring out attention. This is my way of doing it. America takes that flag seriously. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I don't know. A place like Flag and Banner, they probably bought more flags during that time. But America takes that flag serious.
I did sell a lot of flags when that was going on.
And so to think about it, and I do too. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm a guy who says I love the fact that a player has that much control, whether it's LeBron James or Colin Kaepernick. How they use that is different, and so you got to be very careful how you use it, and cause did it cost
him his career? I don't know.
He actually hadn't played again.
Oh, so it did.
But he hadn't played again. He tried to get on a team. Kaepernick had a great season out at San Francisco. They made it all the way up to the end. I mean, he played great. But then the rules changed a little bit, and he wasn't as successful. So the question is, should he get an opportunity to play again or not? That's up for the team to make the decision.
Yeah, that's for so what do you think about college athletes should receive pay endorsements?
I actually believe that all college athletes should receive pay. I don't think it should be from an endorsement situation, but I am smart enough to realize the issue is there's just not enough money to go around. And Title IX is not going to allow that to happen for every athlete to get paid.
What's Title IX?
So basically, the female side gets everything the male side get. So even though there's not as many people going to see some of the female sports, they still get the same thing. So if you decide to pay a player over here something, you got to pay.
They don't sell they don't sell the ticket sales.
Right, but still, you got to. Everything is equal. Everything has to be equal, and that's good. We need to be forced. We need to be forced to do the right thing. I love the fact of doing that. My philosophy was, and nobody's asked me, but I've had this conversation, is a needs basis, not by the fact you play a sport, just by the fact you have needs. So whether I'm the girl on the track team or the guy on the track team, if I come from a situation where my parents don't make a certain amount of money, which they get that with Pell Grants and different things at school, but I think there should be a little more emphasis put on that.
So I saw the athletic director, Hunter, I cannot say his last name.
Yurchek.
Thank you, Keith Jackson, at a luncheon, and I saw him speak, and somebody in the crowd, when they did the Q&As, asked him that very question, and he said he didn't have a problem if they wanted to get endorsements, but he said they cannot use the mascot. So how many of these kids, and I never thought of it like that, he said how many of these kids are going to want to go, how many companies are going to want to advertise with a kid who can't say I play for the Razorbacks or wear any of the mascots?
Where it's highway robbery is when you see a guy like Zion Williamson at Duke University, and I'm a Duke fan, and I go to Duke games, and I'm sitting there going, and I'm looking at every night Duke University's on TV, and his following is huge. I mean, and they're selling the #1 jersey, and I started thinking to myself, I mean, here's a guy who should be participating in some financial way. Michael Jordan, when he played in college, he was so good that he changed the game. There are certain guys who change the college game where they're gonna show them on TV more. Everybody's gonna be at the crowd. They're gonna buy the jersey.
But if they can't say it's from Duke,
yeah, well, it don't make a difference. Nobody. I mean, Zion Williamson.
Oh, so you think that he should be able to sell Duke and then get a cut of it?
As long as he wears blue and white and he say I'm Zion Williamson, he's in good shape.
Okay.
I don't think he didn't have to. He didn't have to wear the logo. That's the same thing. I mean, it'd be like Sidney Moncrief back in the day. I mean, who don't know that Sidney Moncrief is a Razorback basketball player. I mean, literally, okay, they could have did a triplet, sell cars. I'm triplets. We're selling cars. We're the triplets. They're only wearing red and white. There's a way to get it done. I just don't think that's fair for the other players. I just don't think it's fair for the other players.
Because it is a team sport.
It's a team sport. I mean, I think that there's a situation where players know. They look at a guy and go, he's really good.
He's the one.
He's better than we are. I mean, you just come to a conclusion. And in that sense, he's making us money. He's giving us more time. And so he deserves.
Yeah, we're getting more airtime because of him.
Right.
We're going to get to go to tournaments because of him and all that stuff. So, speaking of a team sport, I love how the new basketball coach has all the coaches wearing the same color. Have you noticed that?
I did not. But that's good, though.
Every time we play a basketball game, all the coaches on the sideline are wearing the same shirt.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like being uniform, and that's what it is. And what's really great is that he understands the importance of being a team player. And so after the game, he actually will wear the logo shirts of some of the investors or whatever you call them. But he's been great. Musselman has been great.
Musselman.
Yeah, Eric Musselman. He's been great. He's
he's only 5'6".
He's not tall at all. I've been with him. I hung out with him, but I tell you what, he's tall when it comes to picking players. He's got a great recruiting class coming in.
It's his wife who's the recruiter.
Well, no, that means he's good. If you see his wife, he's a good recruiter. And she has family from Arkansas.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she did. I had a chat with her, and she's talked about it over again. I want to say Magnolia, but I may be wrong. But yeah, she has family from Arkansas. Well,
we've got to talk about Park before we get finished. Okay. I love talking to you, Keith. I want to tell everybody that you've been listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy, and I'm speaking today with the NFL retired tight end, Mr. Keith Jackson, and he's also the founder of the nonprofit Park. You said on Park's website you had a vision from God about helping teenagers overcome the obstacles of violence and troubled lives, and that as you got older, eventually graduating from the University of Oklahoma and retiring from the National Football League, you were able to develop your vision of creating a place that will give kids hope, strong values, and confidence. Tell us about your vision. You started telling us a little bit about it and where this passion from this vision comes from.
Well, the one thing about it is that I actually go to sleep. There's a verse that talks about old men dream dreams and young men have visions, right? And so I go, well, I'm young at the time, so I'm going, this is a dream and not a vision. But I mean, this is a vision, not a dream. And so I have this vision, and it's clear. I think that God speaks to us through visions. And so
describe a vision.
So a vision is when God shows you the end of something, and then he tells you to come back and create the beginning, just like he does. So you can see the end of all the kids being at Park and all of them graduating and all of them going to college and all of them having families and all of them having a nice house and driving nice cars and good jobs. You see the end of it, but then in 1995, you had to come back and start the beginning. So this is our 25th anniversary.
So is that what people mean when they say dream big?
Well, dreaming is different now. Now, a dream is just something that experience of one time that something big is going to happen in your life. A vision takes a little while to carry out.
So when I talk to young people and I say, dream big, as big as you can dream.
Dream as big as you can dream.
So is a dream, but you're saying they're not really the same
Well,
thing.
the vision, so a dream, to me, is something that is for you. Right? You're having these dreams or something that has occurred. A vision is more where you're leading people, where it's more people oriented. And we may have a biblical scholar call us more and go, that's exactly wrong. But old men will dream dreams. So when you say old men dream dreams, they're at the end of their age. They're having dreams of what's happening right now, what needs to happen. Young men have vision because there's going to be a stretch of time.
I like it. Okay.
Well, I didn't create it. It's in the book.
Well, you explained it well. I like it.
So I have this vision of taking these kids who will struggle academically, who will probably be the kids that will be the problems down the line. You bring them in from the 7th and 8th grade, rising 8th graders, and you keep them for 5 years. So you're able to create a holistic approach to change. All this is in the vision. I'm not smart enough to figure this out. I'm a communication major at the University of Oklahoma, but this vision is so strong and so clear about taking these kids, attacking their deficiencies, raising their GPAs, and helping them go to college. And when these kids started, they thought a D meant doing good. They didn't know it meant something bad. And so over the years, and they thought the flag was important too. So
F for flag.
F for
D
flag.
for doing good. All right.
And so over the years, what we've done is we've been able to attack those deficiencies and send hundreds of kids off to college. And so it's been really exciting. We're almost at 100 kids going to college, but it's been really exciting to see that vision from the beginning of doing this deficiency attacking, and then spirit, soul, and body. So this is a holistic approach to change. You are a spirit, you have a soul, and you live in a body. And when you complete all that and get rid of all the negativity around all that, you create a really strong change. I call them change agents. There are forces out there. They're the kids that I have that have jobs in the community that are changing lives.
So how do they get involved in your program?
So basically, we work with the Little Rock School District and the Plastic
So you're
County
closed
School
right
District.
now because of the coronavirus?
Yes, we're shut down now because of the virus. When the school district shut down, we shut down. It's kind of the same thing. The kids can't come there, but we're also talking to them every day by phone, making sure they're getting on the laptops and doing their homework.
And I saw
and all
that
that
you were
stuff.
posting to the website, and the website is park.com. Yeah, you were posting
PositiveKids.org.
Yeah, positive
Kids.org.
Oh, positivekids.org. And then I saw you have a graduation coming up.
Yes, I do.
So who is that?
Our 25th graduation. So what we do is we take the students who've been in the program for 5 years, and some drop out, but some stay in, and those we have a graduation from. And our kids come from schools that are in the county and schools that are in the city. So it's a colorful graduation. So you have the orange of Hall and the green of Mills. You have all and they walk down. We have our own graduation, and
then you have reunions.
And then we're having a reunion that we had to cancel. That was going to be on April 18th, but we're inviting all of our kids back that's been in the program. Over 1,300 kids have been in our program. We're talking about teachers and that's been a part of the program, as well as board members, staff, everybody.
So is it mostly an after-school program?
It is an after-school program.
Is it a weekend program?
No.
It's only after school. It's only
summertime.
helping kids with. It's almost like tutors.
Yeah,
but you have a lot of facilities there. You have basketball, racquetball courts.
We're competing against the outside world, so we want to give them something just as good to do on the inside. I mean, we got a
how do
theater.
They get involved? How do they sign up?
Basically, we go through the counselors at the different school district, and we're looking for a kid who's struggling academically. Has a lower GPA, and we go through them, and then we tell them to take their stuff on their parents. They bring it back, and then we call the parents and say, "Here's what we do."
What's the number one reason that they have a low GPA?
Well, I want to say my program does a great job of changing it. I will say that just the lack of awareness of the importance of education.
Structure in their home life, possibly?
No, some people. Some people you'll say that, but I think it's the importance of understanding why it's important to have education. So if you grew up where your family was a hardworking family, but they never talked about going to college.
I gotcha.
To you, even though you work hard, the parents work hard, or the mother works hard, and she goes to work every day and she puts food on the table, she's just not aware that this thing called education.
And she can't hardly dedicate any time to you because she's working so hard.
She's working so hard. So we become the second parent. And we bring them in, and we attack the deficiencies and help them with their homework and all stuff.
And you find these kids through your own outreach program that goes to the school and says, I want some at-risk kids that you think we could help.
So we've been great partners with the school district, Pax County Special School District, as well as Little Rock Public School District. And so we've been very good partners with them, and we've enjoyed that. And we say we change together because we still use them along the way. So we're having conversation with the teachers and the counselors and all that along the way.
So I'm just bowled over by your success and all the things you do and your vision. What do you see going to happen to Park from going forward? You're just going to keep doing the same, or are you going to grow it some more? Or what's your next dream?
Well, this is 2020 is a year of vision. So we're
why is it a year of vision?
We're 2020, seeing clearly, vision.
Oh, 2020.
Yeah, so we're in this year. We're in this year of vision and what's happening yet. And I told my board members, I said, my vision is that we be better. We've done a great job up to this point. How do we become better for the next 25 years?
You're still passionate about it?
Oh, I love going to work every day. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting around the house staring at my fingers going, what's next? Let's get back to work.
You go every day.
I'm at park every day that I'm not traveling to football games or headed out of town.
Are you so are you still doing radio?
No, I'm not doing radio anymore. No, I gave that up because I had one kid go to Illinois, one go to Arkansas.
Those are the games you're going to?
Yeah, those are the games I'm traveling to.
Keith, thank you so much for sharing your story. I have a gift, although we can't hardly touch, so I'm just going to set it over here.
Set it over here.
And let you, it's Oklahoma
I got
and Arkansas.
Oklahoma on there together and the flag.
I know, and that
a lot of people die for that flag. I really love that flag, and I'll fight for it for the rest of my life too. So
no, thanks. You're so good.
What? Can I just say one thing before I go?
Yeah.
You know that every school that we had a graduate from, we've had a lot of schools graduate from. We come to Flag and Banner to get a flag made of those schools, and so in front of Park, there's like 15 different flags of 15 different colleges and university, and when you walk in, it is so impressive.
You know, I haven't been out to Park in a long time.
You need to come see all those flags that you've created for us.
I do need to. When you first built that place, I came out there and I heard you telling this story that you wanted to do that, and I spoke with someone, it wasn't you. And I haven't, and I think my salespeople have been helping you ever since. Thank you so much.
It's awesome. Awesome.
Listen, I want to thank everybody for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture of Kerry's face in the center of the screen. For more of Kerry's interviews, click either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.